in this episode.
But this is the stuff that it will make or break, communities when it comes down to when disaster strikes.
Yeah,
rather
and it's
than
and if it's a prolonged type of situation, I mean, we could fantasize on like situations where EMPs or the solar flares take out electronics or whatever the case may be, and these types of provisions that you're able to set yourself up with ahead of time could mean the difference between you being a warlord or being a serf,
In an obtuse world, Mark and Jefe will combine military, law enforcement, and general FUD knowledge to keep you vertical. Welcome to the Live, Laugh, LARP podcast.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for swinging by. I really do appreciate you guys checking out another edition of Live, Laugh, LARP podcast. Naturally, you got myself, Mark, and our co-host, Jefe Actual. What's going on, buddy?
Well, we're hunkered down right now. Actually, it's we had a tornado land about 5-10 miles south of my house, so I'm actually recording this, I'm at home recording this on a Steam Deck.
Yeah. It's we're making it happen one way or the other, which is always great. Everything's good. You're good to go. Family's good.
Yep, no one's dead, so
okay.
that's always a good start.
You got a lot of hail that way?
Oh yeah, we got it was one of those. It started hailing, and I had to go get the wife's car in the garage. And my side's been turned into the garage gym, so my truck's just out there getting hammered.
Yep. You got it. You did end up getting it back then from the shop.
Oh yeah, finally did. Yesterday.
Yeah,
it's not done, but
yeah. Well, you got yours out, and mine's getting ready to go in on the 26th.
What did you do to yours?
Oh man, freaking! I was helping a friend move, and
yeah.
No good deed goes unpunished, man. Freaking! It was a high wind day, and just a random branch fell off a tree and hit my truck and dinged it up. So, guess that's why we have insurance.
Yeah, that's exactly mine. That little fender bender I was in cost my insurance $4,500.
Yeah, I mean,
just the repairs and 3 weeks of a rental car.
And then I've got mine was like $1,800, and I think I'm going to see if I can forego the rental car situation and just like work from home and I don't know, Uber back and forth if I have to, but I'll figure it out. But we're not talking about that. We're actually going to talk to a topic that is something that people should be looking into on a regular basis. But unfortunately for a lot of us, myself included, I don't know about you, Jefe, but it seems like these are things that we think about right as the crap is hitting the fan. And that's kind of like disaster preparedness. This is just a conversation that Jefe and I were kicking back and forth just off air before we started recording because of the storm that just passed through. We thought that this might be something to chit chat about a little bit. So I want to leave that on the table for just a second. We're going to put a pin in it because naturally, two things. Number one is if you guys are enjoying these podcasts, we would highly appreciate any type of interaction, whether it be, you liking the podcast on whatever streaming platform you're listening to us to, or just dropping in a comment or a review and just letting everybody know how much you enjoy it, or whatever else you think. That would be pretty awesome. Number two, naturally, we have to say thank you to our sponsor, Atero Arms. I've got Kalash Bash coming up. I just put a new Atero Arms mount on my Zastava M90 for this massive Siley Bull Pro red dot, and I'm super excited. Got it out to the range last week, got it zeroed in, got a 2-gun competition this weekend to put it through its paces. I'm super excited for it, but Jefe, take it away. I know what you're going to say.
So I don't know who Mr. Otero is or who he thinks he is. I posted something about a new revolver I just picked up, and this guy posted on it saying, "Hey, where's your optic on your revolver?" Like, made me
Yeah,
super mad. So
yeah. So
at
he's
least
trolling us.
one, they're listening. 2, he knows who I am. But 3, I'm still out without a J-frame, acro, uh, optics plate. So
Yeah, yeah. We're
man,
gonna
words are
we're
hard
gonna.
today. That's
I think. Yeah, I know. I think we're gonna make that happen this year, Jeff or Hefe. I
I'm just
think.
gonna don't
What?
keep on complaining about it. I
Yeah,
found out with the
exactly.
internet, if you keep on complaining about it, eventually someone's either going to A, do it just to shut you up, or B, block you. And I haven't been blocked yet. But yeah, a Terra Arms, if you want a really, really solid way to mount a optic, would it work on a Crink? It works on Crinks, right?
No, it doesn't have
No.
the rear sight uh, block,
Block.
I guess, like a
Okay.
normal AKM.
Well,
So
if
it's
you
got
have
that.
any other sort of AK, um, speaking of which, a guy just was like, was at work today, and he's like, "Yeah, I just bought, I just inherited a Wasser 10 from like the 90s, I think. I don't know much about it." And then, so he wants to show it to me. So,
Mm, that'll be fun.
but yeah, I'm gonna tell him to get a Taro mount on it.
Hmm. And he needs a dong and a cheese grater.
I think it has a dong on it. I think it's a
Okay.
uh, MD95 from what he explained,
Mm. Should
but I don't know.
should cut it down and shark fin it.
Mm, love me a good shark fin.
Me too.
But,
Put some goon tape on it.
so
All right.
disaster relief.
Disaster relief.
Disaster relief.
Just as Hefe was saying, we just had a tornado just south of us a little ways, closer to Hefe than myself, but we also got hail. My entire back deck was almost covered in hail, so I can't imagine what my truck's looking like right now. But so this is the time of year where we're going to start seeing severe storms come busting through, especially in the
Especially
middle
before
part
an
of
election.
before an election. Yeah, those solar flares. Let me tell you.
And it's going to shut the internet out in 2025.
Yeah,
Only
well,
Biden can save us.
yeah. It's going to happen prior to that because they're estimating 2025. I think they said the beginning of 2025, so that means that there's some like flexibility for them to say, like, well, that was an educated guess, but whoopsies, it happened a little bit early.
I'm going to completely derail this. I literally got an email from my insurance agents or my insurance company. $1,400 of a rental car.
Mm,
Yikes.
nice.
Anyways,
Yeah.
solar flare is going to take out the internet. So literally our niche thing is just going to go away. So it's been
Yeah.
fun while it lasted.
Yeah, we'll just keep on trucking until it comes. But uh, this time of year, spring, especially in the center part of the United States, some would call it the Great Plains. We see very
It's the
bipolar weather.
greatest of planes.
We see bipolar weather come through. One day it'll be 70, the next day it'll be like 38, and we have these hot and cold fronts that just trade back and forth day after day, and eventually those fronts collide and cause some really significant weather. Obviously in the coastal regions, you have hurricanes to deal with. I don't have anything to say about California because who cares? But I guess they have earthquakes or
That's their
something.
fault.
Yeah, I know. I think it's because of all the fracking out that way, but or tectonic plates. I'm not sure. But needless to say, there are tons of reasons why we should start planning ahead of time to make sure that we have all the different things that we need to survive some type of situation. Where do you think that we should start, Hefe?
So, if you really want to know where to start, you start with your area study.
Mm.
As I've
I keep on
mentioned,
hearing this term.
yes. I don't know where you've heard it from. I haven't been harping on it for years.
No.
But yeah, you need to know what kind of environmental threats that you face wherever you live, be it here in the Great Plains where we have tornadoes, freak thunderstorms, If you live on the coastal regions with earthquakes or hurricanes, uh, or like in the Great Mountains, if you have the fire hazards with the big with big forest fires, you have to just kind of understand what threats that that you have zero control over in your area and start planning accordingly. I know some of the base stuff is always have a way to either store or make water, uh, and then also another helpful thing is the way to make electricity is always a solid solid thing to probably invest in. I
Yep.
know a lot of like it's as simple as having some way to store collect water, either be it just hell a bathtub, uh,
Yep.
or have rain barrels if you have that kind of property, and then a generator of some sort.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You'd be surprised what you can get away with like a $200 or $300 generator from Home Depot, or hell, even Amazon sells them these days.
Yeah. You got to be careful with the barrels collecting water off of your gutters and stuff like that, because apparently in some jurisdictions that's illegal for some reason.
Yeah, water. It's a bunch of water rights. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's it's one of those laws that if it's one of the best way I can describe it, it's one of those, if we're going to go after you, that's going to be additional, but we're not going to go after you for it solely.
Right.
That makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, just that simple. Keep some non-perishable food. We can here a lot. So we have a ton of always on-hand food. It's not the most glamorous thing, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
Enough to get me and my family for a couple days, and then that's essentially what you need. Heat source would be great too, if it's depending on what time of year it is.
Hmm. That's good points. I know that an easy, relatively inexpensive way for electricity, especially if you're just needing something to charge a phone, or maybe even a Baofeng or something to that effect, GMRS radio, or even like weather band radios, um, is just a Jackery. It can charge by solar,
Mhm.
and or you have the ability to plug it directly into a wall ahead of time before something strikes, so it's charged up, ready to go. And I use that a lot with my trips out to Wyoming, or heading down to Kalash Bash, or out to Kalashnikon when I'm kind of camping and don't
Mhm.
really have access to electricity. I use the Jackery, and it does well. Um, some of the water purification devices. How do you feel about like the life straws and stuff like that?
I know you and I talked about this um, just recently about the life straws, where like I think Nan was talking about how she had like some friends that uh, got really sick off of them.
Right.
I like Sawyer filters if I'm gonna be doing that. The 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 thing I always kind of warn people of is that's if you're gonna be getting into water filters, that's a little bit more into like the survival slash um like end of days sort of preparation. Not
Sure.
I just need enough water to get my family and I through the next couple days until whatever disaster relief happens. So it's something to take into account. It's not something that I would put all my hens or my eggs in that basket. And I think it's Savannah Provisions. I'm trying to figure this thing out. There is a company I keep on seeing, Canna Provisions. That's it. Um, and their whole shtick is water purification. Um, and they came out with, let me find this little thing. They have a bunch of test kits. They have a bunch of like pocket, um, pocket, what are they called? Water purification kit. And then this thing that I kind of want to get, it's called the H2 Go. It's a chlorine disinfectant generator,
Oh,
and
that's
it's about the size of a smaller than a cell phone. I can just do this. Will this work if I can send it to you in a link?
yeah. You got the private chat.
Oh yeah, I got the private chat. Send it in the link. It's a little generator that you put salt in it, and it turns it into chlorine, and then you put it in water, and then you dump it in the water, and it will, it give you the how much. It can do up to 20 liters of water, like an entire jerry can, like the
Oh,
army.
mm-hmm.
So it's
that's pretty
a cool little system.
I'm gonna have to leave that tab open.
That if you want, I mean, it's solar power too on the bottom side of it. So it's a way. There's a ton of ways to get clean water and disinfect water. This is aiming for this sort of stuff that seems to be geared towards more of, hey, I need to keep a community alive with zero disaster relief, compared to, hey, a tornado hitting nearby and put the power out for a couple days. So
yeah. I don't know. Were you in the area back in 2008 when the tornado went through town?
Yep.
Yeah. So I was too, and we were out of power. We were without power. If I could speak, words are hard. For I think it was 2.5 days, which doesn't seem like very long, but when it's in the middle of the summer and you don't have air conditioning or a fan, because there is no electricity, you find out really quick how dependent you are on those types of things.
Yeah.
So, that's actually a good segue, or not a segue, but just to reiterate what you were talking about, the Liquid Research H2Go Global Chlorine Disinfectant Generator. That is on cannaprovisions.com. It's canna-provisions.com. Those are running $115. And then if you just Google in, or not Google, but look up in Amazon, bathtub emergency water bladder, you can pick up a bladder for about $35, and it fills to 100 gallons and even has a little bit of a pump for you to pump the water out of the bladder. So that might be something too to look into. I think that's something I'm going to add to my wish list to purchase.
And it's this is very simple stuff that you can do now. It's not as I've probably harped plenty of times before. This is like the not sexy stuff that no one wants to talk about.
Exactly.
It's very easy to talk about the latest and greatest in night vision or the coolest AR. I just saw recently they had a bearing delayed AR-15 bolt this company's coming out with.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's supposed to do, but they had a lot of advertising in it. But this is the stuff that it will make or break communities when it comes down to when disaster strikes.
Yeah. And it's going to, and if it's a prolonged type of situation, I mean, we could fantasize on like situations where EMPs or the solar flares take out electronics or whatever the case may be. And these types of provisions that you're able to set yourself up with ahead of time could mean the difference between you being a warlord or being a serf,
Yeah, community leader. I would call that more than
okay.
I'm not going to be so today is March 14th. Hades being currently ran by a cannibal gang member named Barbecue.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
I have heard about it. I've been listening to the S2 Underground's Wire daily update.
Yep.
If you guys are not checking out the S2 Underground Wire, he puts it out every day. It varies on the day and each day it varies on what time he puts it out. But it is a 2 to 5 minute YouTube video that basically gives you bottom line up front. Here are the current events impacting the world today, the most important things. and the guy who runs S2 Underground gives a analyst's comment perspective on what he feels is what you should know from what's happening. I really do like that stuff.
Also, what's pretty cool about those guys, that exact same broadcast gets put out on like several different FM channels. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. So there's a couple of videos explaining it, and I wish I was smarter about it. But GhostNet, they do like a radio version only, so you can hop on certain radio applications or use your handhelds with it's not like you just can get your Baofeng UV5R, turn it on to the channel and go. It takes a little bit more time and effort and resources and know-how, but they also broadcast it on a daily basis on radios.
Maybe you have to tie into a few repeaters before you can pick it up or something.
They use a what is it called? J8 call, JS call. There's a program you have to use, and it's almost like you have to have with the way that I've seen them set it up is they have like those tough books with a radio attached to it, and it's a program running the radio through it. It's way beyond my pay grade, man. Like I wish I could get to that point. That's probably should be one of my focuses instead of revolvers right now. But here he is. So.
Well, yeah, and that's actually funny you bring that up because for the last few days, it's pretty much since Sunday, I've been kind of diving into the differences between ham radios and GMRS and which one is better for what applications and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to understand it, but even the 0 to hero videos that I've watched that's supposed to take an individual that knows nothing and allows them to be a master with the Baofeng, it's still kind of over my head in some cases. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
Well, the nice thing the Baofeng did for the radio community is it pretty much gave you a fully capable radio. Let me rephrase that. Not fully capable. It gave you a capable radio for a very cheap price. That got a lot of people into radios, whether it be them transmitting illegally on GMRS networks and power settings and stuff like that. That's none of my business. I don't really think the government should have that kind of say over what we do. But and more often than not, it doesn't sound like no one does care. But it gave everyone that opportunity at least to get into it, because beforehand it was you had to buy a several $100 radio or have the know-how to get like if you ever see those ham radio setups where it's like you have antennas coming out of your house and they have like those like little bunker rooms with like 8 or 10 radios,
right?
Like that kind of setup got kind of, I don't say replaced by a Baofeng, but at least made it more approachable. Right. With the Baofengs.
Yeah. And
Buddy Tucker just said he got a UV 21R, which is like an allegedly updated version. So
yeah. And what it really does is it gives you a line of sight radio that is going to be capable of reaching on good days, line of sight up to like 10 miles, depending on the type of antenna that you're using.
Yeah.
You and I kind of put that to the test, and I don't know.
Well, I think actually I goofed up on that. Let me check something real fast. So, the radio I was using, I showed you how to take it out, like put it into high mode.
Mm-hmm.
But since my my radio was on the fritz, I think I was still transmitting in low power.
Oh, okay.
And not high power. That's still you're at least picking up the transmission. Let me do this real quick. I'm on Google Map right now. 6.5 miles by the crow flies.
Okay.
Ish. Yeah, about 7 miles. So it's not like it was, nothing to scoff at coming out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, for what most people are going to be using these radios for,
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to get into ham radio and get in and get your license and fully learn it, and this is the bail things all you can afford, sure, you might be able to talk to a few people in maybe a large city. If you're in a large city, it may not be that bad of a thing to have, but for like you and I, yeah, that's we're pretty much at our limitations right there.
I would look at, I guess, if you want to look at a pathway instead of going straight into ham, look at getting a GMRS general license
Yeah,
first.
which
There's no
is
tests. There's no
no,
nothing you have to
nope.
do.
You just
And
go in and sign up and pay your due, and you got it for like
5 years, I think.
five. Yeah, it's like 5 years, and it's for your entire family too.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think I saw that they're maybe going away from that, but that's definitely a good starting point. Just go pay your, I think, $75. You just go online and pay for it, and then you can get like a 15-20 watt radio, and broadcast pretty far with it. If it's, again, still all radios are line of sight. If you want to get into I want to talk with China, that's a whole different game.
Sure.
But if you just want to talk with the boys, that's a pretty easy thing to get into. And another one that I've been looking into is mesh networks rather than radios.
We've been
Which
talking about that for a while now.
Yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself. That company that they sent me an email saying that they had a couple in stock. I don't know if they still do or not. They just got to restock on some of those LilyGo things that I showed you, where you just essentially just keep it in your vehicle or keep it nearby, and you have a mesh network.
Yeah. Well, let me know, man. Freaking, I just got a bonus. I just hit my checking account, so got some change burning a hole in my pocket.
must be nice, man. No, I just no. The wife wants to buy a golf cart now, so there goes on top of this bus project.
What would the golf cart be used
Go
for?
golfing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is that a thing now?
Yeah, we've been slowly picking it up, and
Okay.
We joined the club over by Annaberg.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just so
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's something that all three of you guys can do. So yeah,
no
problem.
We actually we took the little one out last Sunday. Yeah, last Sunday.
Nice.
Didn't go as planned, but nothing does with kids. So
yeah, I know that Nan's friend's husband, whose also name is Jeff, is a huge golfer.
I don't say huge golfer. I bought my my golf set's probably stolen from Topeka. So
well,
let's get back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, we were talking about radios for just a second. So in a natural disaster type of situations, is there a radio that you would think is better than other radios to have? I mean, we've see like late at night we see infomercials about the best wind up weather radio out there. Is that something? Is that really all that someone needs? Is a weather radio, or what should we be using?
A weather radio is never terrible. If you already have essentially, if you have a Baofeng, you have a weather radio. You just need to know what the NOAA channels are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you already have a Baofeng, don't go out and buy a weather radio. I wouldn't. I don't take any stock in NOAA radio alerts. More often than not, your phone's going to get I don't know if you had it. I had about every 10 or 15 minutes, I got a text message or an alert on my phone these days. So
yeah, it's got it through. I got it through AccuWeather.
I got almost like Amber Alert kind of style things on my phone, like it would vibrate and emergency.
Yeah, I see that now. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if having to get a weather radio is as important these days. Uh, Essentially, and then if you want to talk about like battle fangs and everything, unless you have a community that you're all been practicing and doing that stuff with, it's not going to do anything. And I'm going to now circle back to the area study. So this is why that's important, is to understand. If you don't understand what your city or county or your community's response is to a natural disaster already, or what kind of resources are in your area for that, you're already kind of behind the power curve. It's uh, like for our county, I know exactly where the head of the the county emergency services are. I know generally how's that supposed to play out in a disaster situation, who does what, where the resources are coming from. There's a lot of that kind of information that needs to be kind of at least dug into a little bit, so you understand, what if our your county or your city's adequately prepared to at least help take off some of the burden of that survival, and that's when you can start making your plan off of. I know ours, where we are at, has done a very good job at prepping and understanding disaster management. They're a very highly trained organization for a government organization. So uh, when I start looking at disaster prep, it's again, it's not I'm relying on government to do this, but I understand that there's going to be some sort of assistance of some sort down the pipeline, rather than think of people got caught up in Katrina, where
Right.
you're it's like there's people just yeah, just let's put them all here, let's just figure this out, or hey, we'll just take everyone's guns away for no reason, so we will protect everybody. Um, so
And that situation was really odd too, because I don't know if anything happened in New Orleans, but it seemed like the suburbs is where they were doing like knocking on the doors and basically confiscating firearms from people that were so far away from any type of major issue.
mhm.
At least that's the perception that I have. I could be completely wrong on that, but that's the stories that have been resonating in my slowly dwindling
Yeah,
memory banks, you know?
it's definitely one of those. I think what's been really interesting is how that like a lot of that kind of stuff gets memory hold really, 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 really fast,
Yeah.
and just like, oh well, we never seen this before, and then you're like, well, yeah, we saw this in Katrina. We saw how this was responded. We saw how a major city and a major county or parish failed disaster preparation, and um, how there's a bunch of lessons learned there, and if you aren't picking up on those lessons learned, it's like you're just doomed to make those exact same mistakes.
Which was also really interesting too, because you would think that of course, this is, I don't know, 2005. So maybe it wasn't on people's minds as much as it should have been, but you would think at a coastal town, coastal city, such
Mhm.
as New Orleans, obviously they had done some type of site surveys that required them to build levees.
Oh,
Those
George Bush drove down there and blew them up himself. You know that, right? That's what happened.
yeah, yeah, that's well, technically, what I heard was that he didn't actually do that. He let the head of his FEMA organization go down there and do it.
Yeah,
So, and
I,
that's
I
why,
remember that was I remember that was like the first government, or the first like government conspiracy theory. I remember like reading and like that this can't be true. And it was talking about how George Bush set up a bunch of those FEMA death camps
yeah.
to like start killing off citizens, and you're like, wait a second,
Wait
the
a
news
second.
is lying to me.
Well, the funny thing is they give him so much credit for being
Mhm.
smarter than he actually is.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's like that's 90% of um anytime I see these like, oh, this president's doing this or this president's doing that, I'm like, yeah, you're giving these guys way too much credit. Now, is there someone probably way way deep in the bureaucracy that might be doing that? Maybe, sure, but it's not, the presidents aren't doing that. They
Yeah.
so
So okay, so you've talked about
area
obviously
studies.
area studies. We've talked about, water collection stuff.
Hmm.
Um what about if you're trying to get home and you get stuck in a really bad storm, whether it be snowstorm, hailstorm, windstorm, a tornado is like right down the highway from you,
Hmm.
Wh- what do you think are some of the things that you should be carrying with you in a vehicle, in a satchel or merce or whatever you want to call it? Are there any things that you should consider keeping with you as you travel back and forth to work or whatever the case may be?
I'm usually a proponent. In my truck, I have a Tacoma. Shocker, I know. um, uh, usually keep like an MRE in there, a blanket, uh, some basic tools, a med kit, and then I have a bunch of just random odds and ends in my truck as is. I think I have a fire starter, like a hatchet, um, just a bunch of random stuff. I think if you want to talk about bare minimums, some sort of uh, some sort of food source, just either be it a like some non-perishable food, doesn't have to be an MRE in particular, just something that you can keep in your car for probably for a year and a half without having to swap it out with something else. Some way to keep yourself warm, be it extra jackets, blankets. Um, I have a Gore-Tex jacket in there plus a wool army wool blanket. So if things do get shitty, I at least have something there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's, I
See,
mean,
and yeah, that's actually a good point. I think
mm,
that one of the things that you'll need to consider is the time of year that you're traveling,
yeah,
and obviously adjust from there. Last April, I've talked about this a couple of times, maybe once here on the podcast, but several times on the YouTube channel. Is last April, I drove out to my property, and it's April when we left the house here in Kansas. It was 69 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it was a
mm,
very warm day. But by the time we got to my property, it was 34 and there was still 2 feet of snow on the ground. And I got stuck in the snow and we were pretty much stranded where we were overnight.
mm,
And it didn't get stupid cold, but it was below freezing. It was like 24 overnight. And uh, at that point, I said, "Never again am I leaving without at least 2 blankets in the truck with me."
mhm,
We were warm enough, I started the truck to warm us up, and then turned it off every half hour or so. So didn't get as much sleep, but from now on, I've got at least one blanket covering the back seat, and then I have a whoopee as well. So
mm,
there's two that's always with me, no matter what time of year it is. So that was something that was a hard lesson to learn.
mm.
And so there's that. The food situation. Um, I prefer the dehydrated meals that you can get from the camping section at like Walmart.
The Mountain House.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like those. Those are like stable for 20 years or so. Um so
So
you could
here's the kicker.
okay.
You're stuck on the side of the road, or you get caught in the blizzard. How are you eating that?
Well, for me, I just pour some water in it and let it sit for half an hour
Hmm.
or longer and just call it good. Um but yeah, you're
You're gonna
right.
waste you're gonna waste what low. So that's what I'm trying to get at is, um, I don't get me wrong. I love Mountain House meals. I usually take those camping with me.
Mhm.
But if you're already limited on resources, if you're going to be using water, which is probably going to be very
That's
limited
valid.
to begin with,
Yeah, that's a
you're going to
valid
use
point.
about half of it just to eat.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's
So
something that I hadn't really considered, because it's not like I have like a case of water that I carry with me all the time. I have like I've got my that jug that I usually carry with me to work out in.
yeah,
That's like what, 32 ounces.
yeah. Most people don't carry like a 32 or 40 ounce water bottle with them. So if you even have that full up, and I think what a lot of people get too stuck into the weeds of is the my car breaks down in the middle of the Mojave Desert and I don't see anybody for 3 days. There's a very select few people that have to have that worry.
Mhm.
And chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you're not it.
Yeah.
I'd say if you have enough, you should always carry a water bottle with you to begin with. I think that's like a normal staple that no one again, it's the non-sexy EDC stuff that everyone doesn't want to talk about. Do you carry a water bottle with you every day? I have like 3 or 4 emotional support water bottles that I have with me at various stages of my day. And they're always within arm's reach. So I always have water near me. It's not because I need to have it. I mean, I need to have water, but just having that simple mindset, that's a simple change in your life when you drink a whole lot more water, not sodas. And then on top of that, it's you get to the point where you almost feel crippled not having a water bottle with water near you.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I'll even say in my situation when I was stuck um in Wyoming overnight, the next morning we saw cars driving back and forth on the highway. We were just not concerned with where we were at, because we were up, we were moving. We did have water. It wasn't frozen, miraculously. And we had food as well, so we went and did what we needed to do, and then I went out to the road and flagged a truck down, and they were kind enough to pull us out of our little snow embankment, I guess. So you're right. You're not going to be in a situation. Typically, you're not going to be in a situation where you're going to be without for days on end. It might be a couple hours, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe overnight. I mean, you hear stories about people who like get lost and then they end up in a driving down a fire break, and they have to spend 3 nights in their car, and one of the 2 people in the car decides that they've got to leave in this middle of the snowstorm, and they end up dying because of hypothermia. That is like a very, very small chance of something like that ever happening, especially if you're planning ahead of time of what you're supposed to be doing. So
it's definitely one of those in the grand circle of bad shit that can happen to you in a day. We worry a lot about the minute fractions of things that can happen to you on a day-to-day basis. The chances of you're more likely to have your house burned down in a glorious fire than you are to get an armed conflict. Yet, how many people carry, a fire extinguisher everywhere they go around their house, or have one in every room readily accessible? You probably have one in underneath your kitchen sink that's been expired for the past 5-6 years, and you never worry about it. The amount of people that dream of the without rule of law, and they have $8,000-$10,000 in rifles and nods, but don't know how to fucking plant a simple garden. There's a lot that needs to be. It's easy to enjoy and like the sexy shit, because I'm guilty of it too. I have nods, I have helmets, I have body armors, I got all this great stuff in Call of Duty 4, not in real life, of course, but and it's very easy to get sucked down that road, because that's something that you can just buy and have and just check that box, rather than it's. I think I don't know if I sent this to you or sent it to some people. It's people will go out and buy a $3,000 piece of equipment to have the notion that they're good rather than spend $3,000 or fraction of that cost to actually get good at that skill.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So
And I saw a meme that Tactical Response put up. It's like, I spent $3,000 on this pistol. Why can't I shoot?
yeah,
So
I think that's what it was. Maybe
yeah.
you had it, but it's that concept of there's so much other stuff that you need to worry about, or at least prepare for, and actually spend time, effort, and thought process over, rather than do I get a LVPO, LPVO? Yeah, that's the one. Or do I do a magnifier with a red dot? Like, fucker, you can't even shoot 300 yards. So why are you even worried about either one of those things?
Yeah, maybe get good with iron sights first.
Or not even that. I mean, it's more of, hey, once you learn how to boil water or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
Start a fire.
There you go. All right, Hefe, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up because this is going to be a short one this time around, because we have a special guest coming up on the 1st of the month, April 1st, April Fool's Day. A buddy of ours, Matt, will be joining us, and we want to leave as much time as possible for the podcast stuff, so you guys can enjoy. So last word real quick. Hefe, you got anything?
Yeah, buy a watch that actually has a clock face on it, not digital watch.
That's good. There you go. My thing is kind of the same as last time, is learn a new skill, figure it out. So with that being said, again, we want to say thank you to Atero Arms, and we will catch you guys next time. As always, don't forget to live, laugh, and LARP. Catch you guys later. Bye, y'all.